G'day, guys. Welcome back to Stat Chat Sports. We're here for the Chit Chat podcast. You're here with me, Josh, as well as BT and Tazza on the line. Formula One back this weekend. We're very excited about it. Lots to cover, Tazza. Lots to cover here. There's a lot of stories that are going on at the moment about the different teams and who's who in the zoo.
It's a big year for F1. It's a lot of changes, a lot of shifting, I think, within the teams. And not so much the directions, but I think we're going to see a bit of a shifting in the hierarchy in terms of who really rules the paddock there. Design changes too. I think we may be seeing Mercedes falling off their perch and
really,
yeah.
I think it's time. I think they're done.
I think if anything's going to undo them, it's these changes. Mercedes is always going to say, "We're struggling. It's the same thing year in, year out, but and then they go and turn in a race win in round one. But this may be the year. I think there's just other teams are coming up, becoming more competitive, and I don't think it's even as simple as a Red Bull versus Mercedes anymore.
I haven't followed too much of it. I saw a little bits and pieces on like Twitter and whatnot. Have you followed the pre-season type, like the practice, the testing and all that?
Yeah. So Ferrari look like the most balanced of them all. Throughout all 3 days of testing in Bahrain, they were pretty much there or thereabouts at the top. Single lap speed, they possess consistency. On the race simulations, they were quite good, and they're flying laps, so to say. They look like the ones straight away that will probably push for the win in Bahrain. Obviously, Red Bull, Verstappen, they look pretty good. Mercedes have had their issues, but
So talk to us about this, Taylor. What do you know about the design issue? Is it a mirror issue? I think
so. There's a couple of issues, not so much controversy on the first one, but a crucial part of the car with the side pods, which allows for important component within the cooling of the car. It's a safety structure as well. Inherently, the shape protects the driver. They've almost opted for a very minimal, almost no side pod design. So it's the bulkiness around the side of the car. They're foregoing downforce by narrowing the car. I think they want less drag, foregoing downforce. Past that, I'm probably getting way beyond my knowledge.
Yeah, but we appreciate that. That's a very detailed synopsis for the layman, I think. But the F1 hasn't made a ruling on this yet, have they? We're literally days out from the first weekend, and they haven't decided whether they think this is legal or not.
I don't think there's an official ruling on the mirrors, which is what the FIA pretty much has said in the past is any performance increase or any desirable outcome should be indirect. The aim of changing something like that shouldn't be in the aim of making the times faster.
Yeah, so they shouldn't be compromising safety for pace, is basically what they're saying.
No, they just shouldn't be using these things to gain performance kind of thing.
Yeah, which is fair enough. And I can't wait for the Toto Wolff, the reaction. No, Michael, no, even though
that is not right.
But I can't wait for a bit more of that. That's obviously the drive to survive. I haven't got to that part of the season yet. BT, I don't know if you've been watching it, but
finished it today.
You finished it.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I'm not a
Give us
huge
a couple of highlights, given you've seen everything.
Being Australians, you can't go past Daniel Ricciardo with McLaren 1 and 2. That was a pretty
episode.
Yeah, that was a good episode. And obviously the last episode as well, with all controversy. Those were probably the two standout episodes. I watch nearly every race if I can, if it's a reasonable time for us. But I'm the type of viewer that needs like the commentary and stuff, because I'm not a huge car type guy. But the whole excitement behind the race, qualifying even, and then the main race goes for hour and a half or so. So it doesn't drag out. So if a footy game goes for 3 hours or so. So if you're not a huge footy fan, you can kind of get bored of it. At least with Formula One, you can watch the whole race and it's done. It's just so exciting. It's especially last season with it being so close. Hopefully it's the same again this season.
Yeah, the Drive to Survive has been huge for amplifying, I think, that interest in the storylines behind the behind the race as well, rather than just purely looking at which team's on top. One quick one on the storylines as well for you both. We've obviously talked about the big three, Ferrari, Red Bull and Mercedes. A smoky team, a dark horse team that you think might have a really good season that's going to rise up from the middle of the pack.
Well, when you're down the bottom, like Haas were, I think the only way is up, and I think they're actually going to go up quite well. If practice and testing was anything to go off, they did quite well. They topped the times in day one. I think day three, Mick Schumacher was second overall. They've shown that both drivers can be competitive somewhat. I mean, like I said, they're at the bottom. I think they can push themselves to maybe being the sixth or seventh team on the grid. They really put all their eggs, I think, into this year's basket. So we should see a bit of a rise for them.
BT, is there a team that you like in particular to have a half decent year from the mid pack?
Not an actual team, but I'm excited to see how George Russell does. If he can be up there with the Hamilton, or if Hamilton's just going to blow it away again, it's just going to be Max and Hamilton up the top, or is George Russell going to be competitive? Because Bottas last year hardly did anything. So I'm hoping. Obviously, I want Danny Rick. Obviously, I want him to do well, but he's not the number one driver at McLaren anymore. He's getting on in age. I don't know how many years he's going to have left until he goes down to maybe a bottom team. But yeah, I'm interested to see how George Russell goes.
Yeah, it's a fair shout. Whether he'll be a 1A, 1B type scenario with Lewis, or whether he'll be a clean number two. I don't think they brought him in to be a clean number two. So it's a good shout. Just quickly for me, AlphaTauri. I really think Pierre Gasly, I rate him. I don't think he got a good enough crack at Red Bull when he had that short stint there. So I think he's going to have another good season and position himself for a seat in a better car next year.
One last thing, watching the last episode today of Drive to Survive, that I know it didn't really come down to it, but that when Perez held up Hamilton in that last race for those few laps, so Verstappen obviously could catch up. That is like one of the best drives out of the whole series you'll see. It's so underrated. Obviously, it didn't.
Absolutely.
Obviously, there was a flag at the end and all that controversy, but without, let's say there wasn't a flag, obviously Hamilton was probably going to win it anyway. But he made that so much more closer than what it was actually going to be.
That was so crucial.
Yeah,
I remember watching that race, and I just was sitting there in awe, just thinking how he was able to do that. How was able to hold Hamilton, who was just charging.
Yeah.
It's just so critical.